my friends stand by me only if I'm right. I come out of triple darkness just to see the light. If I say it once, I guarantee I say it twice. If they want me, I ain't going out without a fight. In my dreams, I'm a killer, but for God, man. Try to play it cool, but it's getting hard, man. Rolling with the real and death to all the frauds, man. Not too many on me, yeah, it's kinda hard, man. In my room, sitting in my room. Know they waiting on me and I'm coming soon. Never been a sellout, never been a coon. Y'all be on the camera acting, I'ma show them how I true it.
Is that he's also having or feeling a love for himself in his, you know what I'm saying, that he never knew or tapped into with the birth of his two sons.
Right.
Because that's him, his future self. And so you doing it, I was like, yo, this is crazy.
And listen, what does it mean to be a father, gentlemen? Like when you think about the whole idea, we sitting here with the, chopping it up about our 12 sons. But have we ever really even like discussed out of all of these like 55 episodes we've done?
My one daughter.
What does it mean to be a father? What is a father beyond the biological definition? And I'm gonna give you an example of a story. It's kind of unique perception way I'm looking at someone as a father, but I saw this reel where this brother was with a sister that he had got into a relationship with, right? And I don't know if he married her or not, but he was living with her and assuming responsibility, and she had a son that was not his child, his stepchild, if you will. And so the whole reel was about how he told his lady to take her baby's father off of child support so that she's not contributing to the system holding another black man down. Because he said, because now that I'm in the picture, I got you and your son on that end. So let brother get himself together so that he can be a father to his child. And that's all good. And they dapped it up and they talked about him and the dude dapped it up and appreciate whatever. And so to me, he was a father in that moment, thinking about the well-being of the entire picture. And to me, I want to start there with father just not being a dad thing. It's like when we think about father of civilization or he fathered the revolution, it's beyond he brought it into existence. What's y'all thoughts on that?
Well, I was definitely going to agree with, as you were alluding to, with the father of civilization, that sort of thing. And not that I always thought this way. It's just as I matured and started to, and I think I mentioned in another episode, that parenting is godlike. So to me, father is God, being a God, child of the Most High God. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Ye are all God's children of the Most High God. So being in that position of and having the responsibility, because though we are his creation, he's responsible to nurture us, to feed and grow his creation, that it may evolve to be in the likeness and image of him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So to me, that's what it means to be a father. And of course, you can't do that unless you study, right? You have to study, whether it's the scriptures and whatnot and all that you can study of.
So you have to study to be a father?
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, actually, you have to study to be a God. Master Father Muhammad, who came to us in person, studied before he came and made himself known to us. So why would we not be responsible to study to become like him?
So the study implies the job requires wisdom, knowledge, information, understanding.
Yes, sir.
Right? So, Joaquin, this father thing, man, why is it even a question? Why is it even a question about, like, I asked a question, what is a father? Somebody might say, you know what a father is, but why is it a real question that we need to talk about?
Man, it's a hard question. Sometimes to put in words. Mm-hmm. I'll say that it's a hard question to sometimes put in words. I think back on when my son was first born, Darius, my very first born son. And I'm in the delivery room and as he is, I'm thinking, I remember thinking before he was born, what if I don't like this joker? You know what I mean? Like, what mean I'm gonna even like this joker?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand anything. I'm young, I'm 21, whatever. And so I remember as he is born into this world, I remember bursting into tears, uncontrollable tears. I had never cried in my life like that out of joy. And in that moment, I immediately realized the depths and the capacity that I had for love that I was completely unaware of.
Hold on. Whoa. In that moment, what?
I realized the depth and the capacity that I had for love that I was completely unaware of. And it even went even further. Do I realize I could go even further with love when the second son is born? Because I'm thinking, well, I done had this joker for 4 years, and what if
I got more?
I was astounded at the depths of my love for the next one. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I had no idea that love could be that deep, at such a young age. So I start with that.
That father is love. That
Absolutely.
it's a love.
Come on now. I was about to tie it all into that too with love and God and all that.
Yeah.
It's a love God, that you have. And once that love is established, you understand I would give life for this. I would give my life for this. And so when I think about all that, it's a litany of responsibilities, a litany of duties. I'm responsible for teaching. We talked about this before. They're not my children. They're God's children that he blessed me with the responsibility of raising. And when you think about it like that, bro, they're so precious. And you start to understand that I have the responsibility and duty to raise and rear them, and me and my wife, in the right way. So that's just the beginning of it.
When you just said that, man, that's it almost make me feel like I had a jacked up experience when my oldest son was born.
You stupid.
I kind of feel like I failed. Something wrong with me. I know. I'm thinking about, man, the uncontrollable. First, when you said tears, I wasn't thinking joy. I was like, I don't know, because sometimes it could be the tears. They not tears of joy or sad. They just like, I don't know, you just crying. like
overwhelmed.
Yeah, but when you said joy, so I was like, and I could see but the joy, I was like, wow, man. I was like, that feeling you said you never experienced it like in your life, like then I'm thinking, what an amazing feeling. Like that joy, like we had, it's a few times in your life when you have it. That air of happiness.
Yeah.
One of the days for me, and nothing similar to when my children were born, but I'm talking about the air of, for me, a peacefulness, the Million Man March, for example.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
We always talk about it was a glimpse of heaven that day.
Right.
Like, so with me though, but my crazy experience with my oldest son was, it was an emergency going on, right? So he was in distress. So she had to have a cesarean. So I couldn't even get the scrubs. They trying to rush her in there, give me the scrubs that Harry been getting on. I'm trying to fit a medium scrub on. And I was never medium. I got one arm in the scrub trying to get the joint on, and it's supposed to be backwards. It was ridiculous. By the time I get in there, right, they like, oh, you have a son.
Oh, wow.
I didn't see them take her out, but I'm probably glad. I don't know what, but
Yeah.
he was in distress. Cord was around his neck. He's still wild, right? But and they said you have a son that was sort of like bringing them over. You know what I'm saying? And that was my experience. So I ain't had time to like see it, react. It was just like I walked in the room here. You know what I mean? And so, but what I do remember was holding them from here to here in my arm, like I could do this. Being careful, of course, but I was thinking about the size.
Yeah.
I was like, he can fit from my elbow to the top of my hand, man. So I was on some like wondrous of space, like, oh, they count the toes now, like, they do them APGAR scores.
Yeah.
You had read all the books. You read the book, What to Expect, We Didn't Expect It, like, make sure the APGAR scores is good. And I'm on that type of time. You got 10 toes? Bet. All right, so, but to me, when you talk about the love, immediately what kicks in is, if you have that love, what kicks in right in is that I'm at attention as a soldier. I'm on post.
Absolutely.
It's on.
Yeah.
And when that's what that love is just put in you. So I be laughing when people say, man, he ain't ready. When I tell somebody they're not ready if I don't see the love and the commitment.
Yeah.
But if I see the love, they gonna be fine.
Right.
Because that's all it takes.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man. And I just think that's so powerful, that acknowledging that overwhelming joy and love, because my favorite movie is Cooley High, right? And for a lot of reasons, but one of the most powerful scenes is my man Preach. Probably because I like to write and I like Preach, right?
Exactly.
But the man said, man, what is it you want? You can do whatever you want to do. You got the brain. You got the mind. What is it? Whatever you want, you can have it. He said, I want to live forever. Ooh. He said the one thing that man couldn't deliver on with that promise. But through those 3 boys that God blessed me and my wife, that is me living. That's me going ahead. So how do I father? I'm fathering myself into the future. You notice I'm extending my ancestors into the future. So that task is way beyond what people can ever imagine, man.
Brother, listen. Just as because I was about to touch on that when you finished to say, because I didn't want to get too far away from the feeling he had. And that's just what I was going to mention, is that he's also having or feeling a love for himself in his, you know what I'm saying, that he never knew or tapped into with the birth of his 2 sons.
Right.
Because that's his future self. And so you doing it, I was like, yo, this is crazy that you're talking about that. But us coming, talking about this right now, that just made me think about that. And I don't know if, that's what you had been thinking before as well. But that just touched on that whole thing, that him even just, just gaining a certain love of himself that he didn't even have until these boys had come into existence.
And look at me. I don't want to speak for Joaquin. I'm speaking for a black man that's having this experience, but he might stamp it. Look at me and what I've been through and how I grew up and where I'm at. I'm capable of this. I can produce this. And I didn't even really try.
Right. Imagine
man,
if
that's a hell of an awareness.
Absolutely.
That's a hell of an awareness if you know, man. And that's why we talking about what is a father, because there's too many of us and our brothers that's just making babies.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Donors.
And being cool with, that's just my baby mother.
Yeah.
And you see what I'm saying? And that father thing is way bigger than that, man, because we normalizing now the daddy part. You know what I'm saying? And ignoring this fact that you produce something that you didn't even try to produce, and it's the best thing you'll ever probably produce. And why would you I want to cuss so bad. Freak it up.
Yeah, right.
Talik, what you think about this, bro?
Man, I just been over here with all these thoughts, emotions, and James started it off, man, when he was talking about God. And in the Bible, if you read, you see the big G, and that's God himself. And the little G represent us. And when he was speaking, I started thinking about the words talks about God made us in the image of himself and his likeness. And when you have the ability to be fruitful and multiply, your child is going to be a demonstration of either you or the mother. 9 times out of 10, it might look like it might look like somebody else in the family, but most of the time it looks just like the original parents of the child,
or a blend, right?
Yeah, so a lot of times, I hear so many times, man, women always come up to me, especially with my son and I together, and they like, yo, you birthed him, because we look so much alike. And that's just a beautiful compliment.
Right.
But and they're not taking nothing away from my wife.
Not at all.
Absolutely, because they know physically I ain't birthed him. But it's just a beautiful thing. But to be able to experience fatherhood is amazing. It was one of those things that my wife and I, we talked about, and we were married like five years before Tyreek came along, because we wanted to be able to enjoy ourselves.
Right.
And when we started planning to have Tyreek, it was so amazing. I was so excited. And it was no doubt in my mind. Well, us as men, we always want a son. But it was no doubt in my mind. That's what God was gonna bless me with. But whether it was a son or a daughter, I still had amazing love for him.
Absolutely.
But when Wal was talking earlier about being in the delivery room, and and that love, when he talked about that love, I didn't cry, but I experienced that love. And I always used to say, man, when I went to Atlanta, I fell in love so many different times and had no idea. I fell in love with the city. I found my wife, fell in love with my wife. And then when we was able to conceive and have our son, I didn't even think the love could go no more. You think you have arrived, and yet there's still more. And I fell in love all over again, just to be able to see him right there in the delivery room, and then they passing my child to me and just holding them, and I'm just, all these emotions is going on. And this is one of the things that I love so much. But on the flip side, this is what annoys me so much about people in general. Now they got these gender reveal parties, and you all excited about the birth of your child, but yet if things get tough, you're not there in the pit of it. When stuff get tough with the relationship, you're not there to stay. You leave, but you put more emphasis on gender reveal, and the emphasis should be more on your child.
Wow.
And those are the type of things that annoy me now. You so more passionate about showing off your child, but what are you gonna put in your child?
Right.
What are you
Once
gonna
they get here?
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
Yeah.
John, you a father? What's your job?
Yeah. Hey,
What's your job?
I'm gonna keep it real simple, and I'm agreeing with what y'all was saying. Y'all made excellent points. I'm gonna keep it simple. Being there, just be there. And this is commercial about being a foster parent, right? And I think it's an excellent commercial because it was like you think being a father is boom, boom, and doing all this wild stuff, right? And he said, it's just being there. And his son was looking at his dad sitting on the couch, and they were at peace and good, you know? And so, and I say that because, again, I guess we're all talking about our birth experiences at the hospital. Same thing, you know, overwhelmed, excited, blessed. You're like, dang, I did this. I had a role in this, you know? And then I guess the thing is, if you don't have any direction or purpose, you know now. I know now. You know what I mean? I know where I'm going to be at. I know what I have to do. I know what I'm going to do, no matter what. And that was my job, and it still is my job, even though it's transitioning because now we have adult children, right? You're still there, but it's a different kind of way because our time spent with them is going to dwindle down as they get older. You know what I mean? And so it's again, I just knew where I was going to be. Especially a lot of that is affecting how we grew up as well, right? What we saw, what we didn't see. You're tripping off, Jan.
But that love,
much later.
That when we this whole thing about we making a comparison between a father role and God's role with us, right? God the Father. And I think that's just it, man, because we talking about, when we talk about what God's love is and how much, because y'all keep saying, man, I ain't know I had that much in me to love. And then it's still more with the next kid.
Yeah.
Man, if you think about how much love God got for our rebellious, trifling, sinning selves,
Absolutely.
Right.
the
Mercy.
expansiveness of it.
Yeah.
And always, I don't care if you read the Bible, I don't care if you read the Holy Quran, I don't care, and I've not read scriptures from Buddhism or Hinduism, but I suspect that mercy and forgiveness reign throughout those scriptures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And God's mercy and forgiveness is like whenever you ready, until the last breath you got on this earth, whenever you ready to submit and say, I surrender. Come on.
I'm here.
Come on.
Like, as JG mentioned.
And so,
Presence.
and so as a father,
Being
then,
there.
how far are we willing to go with that love with our children, right? If that's what it's equated to, right? Now, God punishes.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough love. They come with that. You know what I'm saying? God guides, he directs. So if we not, like, when I think about fathering, it's almost like an artistic thing to me. Like if you say, man, somebody fathered something, it sounds like some skill involved in it, don't it? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that boy, our daddy, so I made a baby. That don't sound like you fathered something. Like you cultivated it.
The father
You
of
guided it. You put pressure on it. You cooked it. You know what I'm saying? And so
architecture.
to me, it's all of those things. And I like John's point because now I'm sitting there saying, man, I was so locked in on this task. I really didn't know what the hell I was about to do.
Right.
Let's just be honest. I was overwhelmed. But to me, I think bad fathers have a mental separation between them and their children. And I think good fathers see themselves as one with their children. Because if I see
That's
you
real.
as separate from me mentally, then it's easy for me to treat you like a thing. I'm not going to treat myself like a thing. If it's a part of me, I got more concern and care for it to make sure it get what it needs. But so if I'm so selfish in what I want for myself as a dad, then I don't see you as one with me because your needs don't align with mine.
Mm.
And that's what the problem is. We got a bunch of selfish black men out here, right? That's macho and strong and getting a bag, right? And then make a baby and see it as a damn material thing because it don't align with your needs at the time. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the distinction. So don't come tell me you a father And you don't understand that there's no mental separation between you and that life, you a fool. And somebody is going to pimp your child and take advantage of them because your inability to teach them that they have a connection to you beyond your damn check. And excuse me.
No, man, that's such a real thing, man. So many times, man, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with somebody and they come to me and they're like, hey, man, you know, they got me on this child support thing, man, and da 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 and all this stuff. I said, oh, you can nip that in the bud, you know. He's like, well, what do I need to do? I said, just go get joint custody, 50-50. Don't she make more than you, don't she? Yeah. Well, if you get 50-50, then she might owe you some money. Yeah, man, that probably ain't gonna work, man. That probably ain't gonna work.
Because you don't
want to be with it.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah,
you don't want to be a father.
You don't want the responsibility.
Yeah.
You really don't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really don't want the responsibility, bro.
Right.
You just jaw jacking, man. You just talking stuff.
And you don't want to pay.
And it sounds good. And you don't want to pay. You know, and you don't want to pay. And so, man, like, and I that's my first question. How about you try this? Next thing you know, that ain't no option.
Right.
Going on what Corey was just saying too, and I think James may have touched on it. So if there's a disconnect, can you change that? I don't think we.
When you
can
say disconnect, what
like
you
for real, when James was
some
talking
mothers may
about
not bond with their baby.
when James was talking about studying, all right, bro, I can't tell you how many books I have at home on parenting. A lot. You really do have to study, whether it's talking to people, finding mentors, watching podcasts, something. You can't just think you just gonna have us. I coached for over 2 decades.
How long?
Right?
How
2
long?
decades. Right?
Over 20 years.
Do you know I got every Coach K book at the house? You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what it is. We all have a profession. All right?
Right.
We've studied. So why you think with the most precious gift in the world, you won't have to study?
All right.
You absolutely must put in the time to learn about being, and I've said this before, you know, our kids don't get the same parents. The reason they don't get the same parents is because we're different parents at different stages. The parent I was at 28 is very different than the parent I was at 35. You know, and so why? Why is that? Because I've grown.
Right.
Because I've grown, because I've studied, because I've learned. But more importantly, as a father, one of the first things you have to do is establish a set of principles and values that you live and govern by.
Absolutely.
Because that's your guide in terms of we've heard the saying before. You can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears. All right? Mm-hmm. How well is the tree? So being a father starts with us taking care of ourselves.
Yes, sir.
So we can be better fathers to our children. And not just our children, you know, our extended cousins. We you know, y'all all know we all fathering multiple, you know, we fathering kids outside of the ones we participated in giving birth to. You know, we all fathering them. I was just on the phone with one that was not my wife's birth child, but he was like, man, thank you so much for fathering me. He's 31 years old. Yeah. Like, for real. He's 31. Yeah,
man,
exactly.
More than the role model.
No, I was going to say, man, you know, shout out to my man Ace, man. Man, growing up, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Patrick, man. Shout out to that man. Man, in the 80s, man, I think he was 16, 17 years old when he had his daughter. And at that time, man, you talking about I think in that era, man, as black men not being there for our children, within our age bracket, I think that was just one of those things where
it was common that we weren't there.
Yeah, it was a lot more Common that we wasn't there.
Right.
As a whole body. And I watched him, man. He going to school, man, didn't drop out at all, graduated and everything, and was a parent to his daughter. And I watched that man up close and in person. And of course, the help with his mother and stuff like that. But you know, it was and it was the village, man. And I watched him, you know, and most of the time, if that was the case, if him and the young lady wasn't together, most times the child go with the mother.
Right.
But in this situation, the child went with my boy.
Oh, word.
My boy graduated from high school, went to college, graduated, and I watched this journey. And it was in a time where it wasn't common. And this was probably what, 87 maybe, something like that in the area. And he was the first example of somebody amongst our peers
of a teen father,
that young, that held it down from top to bottom. Yeah.
Peace and blessings. To all of our businesses who are interested in advertising, we have great affordable rates. And if you'd like to advertise on our B2M Crew podcast, please reach out to us at b2mcrew5@gmail.com.
I want to second that back on that same vein. That's a great story, man. Shout out to Patrick, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Patrick. That's a great story. In that same vein, why you do it? Why did you, when you went through a divorce, do what Joaquin said the brothers don't want to do, which was go get joint custody? Why did you fight for it? Why was it important to you?
He couldn't tell me that wasn't going to work. I ain't going to be able to make it.
Why did you do it?
Again, from day one, I'm going to be there no matter what. Nothing was going to deter me from being there. And maybe that's just because of what I didn't have, but I was determined.
But why did you see joint custody? Like why did you say you wanted the time? Whatever the best deal was out of that, that's what you wanted.
And it had nothing to do with money. It had to do with time because I'm spending money anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was going to be there. I didn't want to be every other weekend father. I didn't want to be the King's Dominion dad. You know, here goes some money. We have a time, you know, good time, eat some pizza, go back home. I didn't realize, I don't think that was an impact. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be part of that morning school routine. You know what I mean? I want to be there. Even like, because I coached all day sports, right? So even the days I didn't have them.
How many years?
About 13, 14.
Almost 15 years.
Yeah.
About 15 and a half.
Hey, next episode, it'll be 17. I'm working my way up to 20. But
that's how you be good for 40.
Exactly. So I'm gonna be there even when it wasn't my weekend. And you know, it's so funny because even when I would date, I would tell this is my situation. I'm available here, I'm not available there. They loved it, right? They was, oh, that's so nice. And then sometimes, well, what you doing? We got a game. It ain't your weekend. It's my son.
Yeah.
What you mean it ain't my weekend? It don't matter. Or you got your kids? Yeah, it ain't your weekend. Well, she got something to do. You just gonna let her do that? She can do what she want to do. These are my children.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I can't control what she do, or we would have been together still. You know? So she can do that. But I got my boys. So my boys are never burden on me. So you can try to be a part of this, or you can keep it moving, because that's non-negotiable. It was non-negotiable at birth. It was non-negotiable at 10, 15, whatever. And I'm still there.
I asked John that story, man, because as to leaks to the point of the witness on Patrick, man, as a fellow B2M crew member, man, I have always admired that, man. Because we all know that it's easy to just not. I admire because I know how important it was to him. I mean, John, he said in the previous episode, he said, yeah, I ain't signing no papers if it don't go down like this. So I'm willing to. So the point is, though, I love myself so much that I ain't willing to take no deal that ain't good for this time that I need to put in, man. Yeah. And that's the difference, man. And I admire that as a black man, man, how you navigated the co-parenting and maintained your presence as the primary voice in their life. Because that's, to me, what's hard to do when the child is not living with the dad full time.
Yeah.
Is who becomes the voice that develops them as a man. Is it the mama? Is it the dad? And in situations where there's divorce, a lot of times, there's a lot of tension, so you don't want it to just be the mama's voice and you just like your daddy and all of that. And I don't necessarily, for me, I don't know the stepdad. I don't want it to be his voice neither.
Exactly.
So how, in this limited time, do I establish my voice in their head?
What if stepdaddy voice better than your voice?
If the stepdaddy's voice is better than your voice, I go back to how I opened up the episode and saying, I salute black men. If his voice is better than John's voice, he will be wise enough to incorporate John's voice into the plan of how they all doing it.
Right.
And he'll be open to that.
With the example that you gave.
So I like why you asked that question though, because you said earlier, you started this with saying, man, you gotta have some beliefs. And what I wanted to go back to is me and Jay moved fresh out of Savior's Day in Detroit, listening to Minister Farrakhan's 90 years old Savior's Day speech. He said, you gotta submit your will to do God's will. You know how you do it? You gotta replace your thoughts with God's words. Right? And I'm only saying that to say this ain't no religion. This is about this. You say you gotta have beliefs. That's the problem. We got a bunch of daddies walking around that ain't living according to no belief system.
Right.
They just out here living. They ain't got no code, and the only code is street code and the ignorant black folklore code about how we supposed to raise children that's never been tested. Some of it's true, but most of it's a bunch of bull that just got passed down for no reason, that we talk about the dumb rules and all of that stuff. Yeah. So if you don't have a code that you're living by, God's law as a Christian, God's law as a Muslim, God's law as a Jew, universal law. If you don't have a code that you're living by that governs your life, then you're raising your children on some N-word stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's impossible for you to be a good father.
I remember when dating my wife, man, before we got married, man, we had a gazillion conversations and scenarios about all kind of stuff. You know, when we had children, well, you know, because we wanted to, right? You know, what were we gonna agree on, and everything we talked about, you know, are we gonna argue in front of them and so forth. And I remember saying, you know, for some odd reason, just, you know, God forbid we get married, things don't work out, we got a child, you know, what type of mother you gonna be? Are you gonna be the one that, you know, now, hey, when you dating and everything nice and good, you think a certain way, only one way. But I wanted to know, like, are you gonna try to hold my child from me if I ain't pay child support, or you gonna put me on child support, or what? You know, all these different scenarios. And one thing that I always said, I was like John, like, I'm gonna be there. I don't care what it take, how much it's gonna cost. If I gotta work 3-4 jobs to pay attorneys, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
You know, and of course she was like, I would never hold your child from you, you know. And when you hear stuff like that, you know, of course you don't want, like Joaquin said, an nth degree, right? But at the same time, some of those conversations people never had.
I don't understand how men that don't stay with the woman. And like, if you're married, let's say if you're married, I get it if you're not married already. But if you're married or living together and you have children, and you don't fight to get joint custody, I think every man and every woman should fight to get joint custody. Because you know why? I would never want my child one day to come to me and say, why didn't you try to do that?
Oh my gosh. And I was just about to.
I would never want to answer that question because there's no good answer. Mm-hmm. There's no good answer except to say, I had zero means to take care of you. I mean, something.
There's some
drastic.
good answers.
What is it? What is it?
Hey, listen, I'm not justifying it, but I get it. If a cat say, I'm gonna go get some milk and don't never come back, I get it. Because some people can make it so difficult when you're doing your best to pull you in the muck and pull you in the muck and pull you in the muck that you just bounce. Again, I'm not justifying it.
What does that have to do with joint custody?
You talking about getting joint
No,
custody?
he's saying he understand. He taking it even further than not joint custody. Like, I understand dudes that just leave and don't show up no more because the woman makes it so difficult. No. That's what he's saying. That's his point.
No, I understand it, but I'm not going. No. So then your pain in dealing with her is stronger than your love for the baby. Then
let me ask you
in that scenario.
I got. Let me ask you this. What do you feel about a woman giving up her child for adoption?
I think it's something. I think it's a decision that she will live to regret for the rest of her life. Ultimately, even when there were circumstances at the time that might have looked like she should have done it.
So it's never no good time to do that for a lady in your mind.
I'm not judging whether or not it was a good time at the time and whether somebody should have did it, but I think they will live with the regret of it forever, regardless of why they had to do it. So I'm pointing out that I don't think it's good, and they're going to live with the pain, even if circumstances, they felt it was a good decision at the time.
Okay, and I use that analogy because what you're saying is consistent with your argument. I use that as an analogy because men, we don't give babies up for adoption, right? The ladies do that. That's how it basically happens. So again, I'm not advocating any man of their responsibility, right?
I hear what you say.
But I do understand that people, again, I got it because I've been there. You know what I mean? Like you said,
but you didn't do it, bro.
Right.
You did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so you say you understand. So what you understand is when men don't have the commitment and love deep enough to make them check their damn pain. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
You know why he didn't say this show? You go to the what's the worst case scenario?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But listen, that was me though. And where was y'all niggas at? No, I'm just no, but seriously, I was about to ask that question because with my daughter, unfortunately, Nadira, I love you to death, to life. You know this, but
hey, Nadira,
that was this situation in where I needed y'all to help me with that. And of course, if I didn't express it and didn't know how to express it as a young, father when her mother and I split, but my wife reminds me of that. And I was like, she asked me the question, why didn't you fight harder? You know what I mean? Why didn't you fight harder to get joint custody of Nadira and to be a part of her life as opposed to just allowing her mother to dictate and control and run? Whereas, and for me, I really couldn't answer. Not that I, when you were getting on JT about that, you didn't, bro. And I was like, damn, he talking to me. He's really talking about me. I did it. And it's like, I can blame youth, immaturity, or whatever the case, and I don't know if it was maybe, I wouldn't say convenience, you know what I mean? But it's like, I guess not wanting to, it touches on what he was talking about. I didn't even want to deal with and go through the madness with her moms of trying to get that, you know what I mean? Knowing that but I didn't, if you don't try, you don't really know. You know what I mean? And I didn't try.
But you pointed out the first thing though when you said, and I'm not taking no blame because Talik and John was down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I wasn't down there.
Hey,
watch I would have told you, bro. But let me say this. No, let me say this though. But what you pointed out when you said that, I needed y'all then. What you pointed out is, as young black men, who do we have to talk to?
Right.
We don't know how to be a father, especially if we aren't close to our fathers, or we don't know. So we don't have anybody to lean on to say, yo, you calm down. It's okay, it hurts. This is what you can do. And that just points out another layer of the village that's needed, man. You know what I'm saying?
I think in James' situation, and I'm speaking blind.
And of course not then. I'm sorry. Look, real quickly, I'm going to just point this out. that was pre anybody having y'all having children or
Right,
whatever,
right.
and being in the situation to understand and
Oh, yeah,
have
yeah.
That's
that.
what
I
I'm gonna
get-
touch
yeah.
on in a second.
So
It was funny.
but
it is
even
funny, though.
even thereafter though, if I thought about it, I still could have used that advice from us even as she was growing older and as you were experiencing what you were experiencing.
And you know what that
Yeah,
shows
man,
it real quick? It shows that in our relationship, even as close as we are, and as much as we've helped each other through, there have been periods where we won't checking in.
Right. Yep.
But at the
I mean, for real talk.
No, that's true. One, not experienced enough in knowing to ask the right questions or have these type of conversations is one. But another thing, when you left her, you left and went back to Virginia.
Right.
And so
to regroup.
And so
which was a plan.
That alone is a level of a challenge, And so what happens is out of sight, out of mind. And you can't communicate with her because it's a challenge. And so what happens? You just stop picking up the phone calling. Now I don't know how old Nadira was at the time when y'all separated, but at the same time, you still trying to find you.
She's probably about 4 or 5.
You still trying. You gotta work, and I'm not saying any of this is an excuse,
right?
But this is how the gap can get so wide.
Let me say this, and I think we can't talk about this without really address. We sit up here having this conversation as 52-year-olds.
Yeah, right.
As 50-year-olds with the mind of 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not. And what you talking about is us as 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
2-year-olds.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's why this is exactly why we are having this conversation on camera for other young people who may be in that space right now.
That's right. That's
and
right.
they're 23-year-olds and they're 24-year-olds and they trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And this is why we having this conversation. So we can say, hey, young fella, tap into your village and know to reach out and know to start to put some OGs around you that's going to give you real game and real advice that's going to help you, bring you along into this fatherhood.
And we can be those OGs. We are those OGs for you.
Yeah,
that
right.
we didn't
We're
have.
talking about this as fathers now.
Right.
But what we're talking about, and this conversation really is about our journey into fatherhood.
Yeah.
How did we get there? And along the way, it wasn't all this. It was this and this and this
Hey, we
and
need
this.
we talked about a whole episode on the mistakes that we made, right? So we can do a whole show about our failures, our faults.
That's a fact.
And that's the point. We still, to this day, mess up, right? We trying to get
I
right.
don't.
But this is the thing too. And look, this is not about Nadira and James' situation and his ex-wife, right?
Right.
But no, I'm gonna make this point though. But what's real is, and we always got to be mindful, man. And I wanna be mindful too, because like y'all said, this is not we bringing this up, right, to point out, to talk about this journey we talking about. But James is like, he's rightfully critical of himself. He's rightfully, to me, critical of us to some. I don't think he's trying to be,
I know what you're
but
saying.
it's a good indictment of brotherhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are also at the same time mitigating circumstances and factors that don't make it so cut and dry as him saying, I could have fought harder, right? You're in a land 500 miles from home. You're trying to take care of yourself. You don't have your footing. You didn't necessarily have a scaffold to get back up to stay right away. You had to rebuild to get back. The question really is, down the road, how could the tide been turned when that happens, when the disconnect like Talik talked about happened? How can we reconnect, right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, though, I'm with Chappelle on the, we humans having a human experience and life be lifing and God's plan with everything, because it was a beautiful moment to me when we were in Atlanta, and
Oh,
we
man.
all met Nadira to see the light in her
That's big
face
dog, yeah.
and love that they can share after none of this time we talking about, and it seemed as natural and pure as ever. So
Yeah.
that's God's plan.
I could have
So,
cried right there in that moment, man, because
So there's healing in all of that, right? So I ain't, go ahead,
I think
bro.
we
No, go ahead.
all had that moment.
Yeah.
Like you said, I could have cried, and how we all felt. She can't imagine that we all felt that way, but we all felt that way because we know we did collectively drop the ball on that. I think we all felt that way, and that was a moment of redemption for us as a friend group,
Bro.
seeing you and her back together. I felt like that's what that was
Do
for
you know
us.
you just made, right now I feel selfish. Let me tell you why I feel selfish right now. Because as much as I say, man, and I left there saying, I'm so happy for James, man, and Nadira, you know what I mean? Because she's just so bubbly, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy. If he was a girl,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, right. I know.
All right, so,
I know.
but you pointed out something, because actually, I remember down there saying, it's a shame I don't know her.
Right.
And I don't blame him for that. I was just saying, it's a shame that I'm telling her, you don't know me, but
We got this love for you. Right.
And
Because we all collectively dropped the ball.
Yes.
When it come to that.
I had a lot of emotions, man, because my wife and I used to watch, James' children.
Oh, wow.
And the deer and
Yeah.
the brothers and
That
sisters.
brother was
Wow.
there for me,
Yeah.
man, when I was going through that
And
thing, boy.
and
Damn nomad.
I was like, man, I'm gonna recognize her when I see her.
yeah.
And man, you talking about like the minute I seen her, everything just came back.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. And then to watch how she embraced each and every one of us.
Yeah.
Because even though she probably don't remember me, I'm still a stranger. We all strangers to her,
Yeah.
and it was just, and then just the, and then it was so natural. It ain't like James had to say, hey man, they go Uncle Walkie, like he didn't have to say that immediately. She just jumped right, and that just showed the love that James, that naturally she have in her from him.
I hope I'm not overstepping when I say this to my brother. But what I am going to say is, and that's beautiful what you just said, but what I'm going to say is I'm thanking God in this moment, because with the distance of him not being able to develop her into the type of woman that's loving, because he was not there, I'm going to shout out her mother, for even though she and James didn't figure out a way to do that together, that she put and developed a heart in her that received her father these many years later. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to shout that out, because it ain't all about her connected with James. The mama, regardless of what their relationship did, created this pearl that was open to receive.
You know what?
Brother.
I just, so true. And I was just having this conversation with another young lady who I know, and she has raised her niece.
Mm-hmm.
She's raised her niece as if it was her daughter.
Wow.
And niece is super successful, professional soccer player all over the world and all that stuff. And she was talking about her, and she said she referred to her as her niece, and she was like talking about the niece referring to her as aunt. And I said, why don't you say mother and daughter? Why y'all don't do that? And she explicitly said, I never wanted to do that because I always wanted her to know I was the aunt, she was the niece, because I always wanted to leave room for her to receive her mother when her mother were to enter back into her life.
Nice.
Yeah.
And she was so proud of the fact that mom had entered back into her life, And now the mom and the daughter was having a great relationship now.
Beautiful.
And she was, and so she was mindful of that from the very beginning. To say, no, you my niece, I'm your aunt.
Yeah.
Even though
This
she
your
was
mother,
fulfilling that role.
even though she was playing mom role. You know what I mean?
And then you know what that's back to? Where we started. Love.
Yeah.
Right.
I love you beyond my need to feel good about how this is going on so that I can choose the best way for you.
Absolutely.
That's what being a father is.
Come on now.
I've had them
Right?
experiences. I mean, I met people in that similar situation that did the exact thing, and I was like, man, this is amazing, man. This is awesome. That you can fill in the gap and just back to the village.
I think the word that has run through this entire conversation really is commitment. That's the word.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And commitment driven by love.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment that's driven by love.
Right.
And when you are committed and it is driven by love, it'll take you through anything.
And see, I would say love
It will take
first.
you through anything. No. Love is first.
Right.
But the love is what makes you committed.
Got you. Absolutely.
Yeah, the love is what
Right.
makes you committed.
Correct. Okay.
And so when you commit, we going through whatever we going through. I got you. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I'm there. And so sometimes we fumble it sometimes as parents. And so that's why we having this conversation, because it's a lot of people that's watching this right now that's trying to figure out how to get it back. They done dropped it somewhere. You know what I mean? They done dropped it. And now they want to get it back. You know, and how do I recapture this? And I always say, just continue to reach out, continue to show that your hand is out to rebuild and reconnect in those relationships. Just don't stop doing it. I just made a post the other day and was talking about, as long as you still got breath in your body, there's a chance to mend relationships and fix it and build it into what you hope it can be. Now there are sometimes, I had this happen too. Young fella has an amazing stepdad. Amazing. Regular dad,
He's a regular dad.
So I'm like, hey man, you still wanna, connect with your dad and reach out to your dad and you know what I mean? Just man, talk to him, man. He listened to me, and that was a bad decision because his dad was so toxic, such a mess. It was just a disaster. And the son, because he's had an amazing stepfather, when he came back to me, he said, man, I had lunch with him, man. That's a complete waste of time. What that guy going? I don't. He's my father. I will honor him as such from a distance, And but we can't do nothing.
But you know what though? It wasn't a waste of time at all. Because let me tell you something. And the fact that he responded like that shows that he still got healing to do from it.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because you have to confront the truth, because it was right for you to meet with him. It was right for you to seek the mending. It was right for you to seek the union, the healing, and all of the things that God has in you for one another that it should be. The fact that the Father is not there is the truth God wants you to sit with right now. For your development in your life. And you got to understand that, because you know what? Tomorrow, that lunch might be different.
Right. Yeah.
And you might need that man, and you don't know you need that man. Because we all got these plans, and then God got all of these ironies.
Yeah.
Right? And I like in Jay-Z's interview with Kevin Hart, he said, if you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plan.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right? And so in literature, dramatic irony is a discrepancy between what's expected to happen and what actually happens. Right? So what actually happened, I got my stepdad, I don't need him no more. And then I get in this one moment where only somebody in my biology might be able to give me that one word to free me from something that I need in that moment. And I ain't saying all the time because I get his spirit, but I'm just saying we can't ever close ourselves off to the providence of seeking.
And because hopefully your real dad see the man you are, it may bring him into becoming the man he needs to be. So you can be the child, but you can end up leading the parent.
Right.
Yeah,
Man, I done left
Yeah.
a conversation. But haven't you ever left a conversation and said, I was just an asshole? I was just off, right? So I'm sure when that dad left, even though the son felt emptiness, he was like, I messed that all up.
Yeah.
I don't care how toxic he is.
Yeah, right.
I've done it again. I mean, you
Right, yeah.
You see
that's
what
right.
I'm saying? So yeah.
That ain't what he wanted to happen.
Nah.
Right.
I mean, it could be, but even with that, he gonna sit with it and be like, I had a shot.
He clearly, right, because why he show up to the lunch?
Right.
Because he wanted
He
to
ain't
be
got the
better.
tools.
He don't have the tools. He don't
Yeah.
have the tools.
Yeah.
And that go back to the studying. Some people think, we talked about it before, authority by title.
Yeah.
Authority by title is nothing if you have not demonstrated the moral authority to lead your children or your family or whatever it is. And some of these, you're just a sperm donor.
I got a bar.
Go ahead, we listening.
Authority by title leads to compliance versus loyalty.
Big facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Big facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just
That's right.
compliance.
Yeah.
But the love, if I'm in love, if I'm committed to you and loyal to you because I love you, that's a lasting thing. You know what I'm saying?
We all in.
You got something to take us. The
baby.
B2M crew chopping it up about what it means to be a father. We talked about it being about reflecting God's love to us. We talked about it being about love and commitment and
Showing up, being there.
showing up
Man,
and
JG.
being there, and
Exactly.
also enduring the long game once we had some failings and being open to receiving love. And we talking about reclaiming the village, man. It takes all of us. We need to support one another in this fatherhood thing, but we definitely know, brothers, if you don't see your child as a part of you, then you already losing the game in terms of being a good father. Joaquin, you got something to take us out with?
In the words of the great Frederick Douglass, it is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men. Peace.
Yeah.
And I won't stop until I'm winning. I'ma show them how true and independent get it. Whole game changed by the time I'm finished with it. We about to get this business handled in a minute. And I won't stop until I'm winning. They don't want me in the office 'cause I